Soul pierced into the artificial human number 17 in the Dragon Ball, facing a series of powerful enemies such as the powerful Super Vegeta, Ultimate Sharu, Super Three Brolli, Demon Buo, and evil one-star dragon. Fortunately, I carried a panel with me and looked at the various labels in my backpack. Permanent Energy Furnace, Great Demon King, Anti-Boss, Super Saiyan, Magic Power. On the 17th, he calmly waved his hand and said, "Let me change the label first." Keywords of the novel. Dragon Ball. This artificial person is super strong without pop-ups. Dragon Ball. This artificial person is super strong. Download the complete text. Dragon Ball. This artificial person is super strong. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. The Beginning of Everything. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Beginning of Everything. AG 767. Outside the northern capital city, there are vast mountains and rare human traces. At the entrance of the secret research institute, a figure cautiously emerged, who was originally confident in killing Sun Wukong as a revenge for his blood. Damn it, I didn't expect Sun Wukong to grow to this extent. Dr. Gro's old face showed a hint of ferocity, and he complained inwardly. After looking around and confirming his safety, Dr. Gro skillfully entered the door password and flashed in. The vast research institute is empty and quiet, with several unknown machines operating independently in the corner. Turn your gaze and look at the silver-white hibernation pod with the numbers 17 and 18 printed on it. Dr. Gro, who had escaped from birth, was now calm and composed, with mixed emotions in his heart. In this hibernation pod, he specially created artificial humans 17 and 18 with unlimited energy to deal with Sun Wukong. There was an accident during the test, and the artificial person did not follow the command. Dr. Gro had no choice but to urgently stop and let it sleep. But now, Dr. Gro cannot be ignored. Vegeta and others are about to pursue them, hoping that the artificial person has repaired it on their own. After thinking for a moment, Dr. Gro first operated on another machine. Then take a step forward and use the only remaining left hand to press the switch on the sleep pod closest to you, number 17. Click, click, accompanied by a crisp mechanical sound, the cabin door slowly and automatically lifts upwards. Hiss. Su Lang opened his eyes and found that everything was pitch black and unusually quiet. What kind of place is this? Before Su Lang could react, a strange memory surged out like an erupting volcano, devouring everything. The feeling of excruciating pain, like a needle prick, like a knife cut. Su Lang gritted his teeth and struggled desperately, whether it was after tens of thousands of years or just a second. Opening his eyes again, a blue data panel appeared out of thin air in Su Lang's mind. Name. Number 17 level. 60 title. None tags. Artificial man, permanent energy stove, like hands and feet, backpack. None. The sudden emergence of the data panel and memories in Su Lang's mind surprised him greatly, but he also knew that his soul had been pierced. My current identity is the artificial person number 17 from the previous Dragon Ball anime. However, staying up late playing games and waking up to travel, Su Lang deeply sighed that it was too unbelievable. The quiet appearance of the panel and the sense of control over the body all tell Su Lang that this is indeed the case. There's no way, Su Lang knows that the prerequisite for exploring all these answers is to survive. Outside, Dr. Gro held his composure and stared straight at the long open hatch, secretly speculating inside. Is it difficult or hasn't it been fixed yet? Why hasn't there been any movement on the 17th inside so far? Number 17 in the hibernation pod watched as his palm effortlessly passed through the panel and tried to control it with consciousness. Under the control of number 17, the content on the panel began to change. Artificial human. The body has been transformed into a semi-mechanized new human. Attributes. Attack, defense, and HP will be greatly increased. Permanent energy furnace. One of the great creations invented by Dr. Grow. Attribute. At rated output power, the energy in the body will approach infinity like siblings. You have an extraordinary bond with the artificial 18th attribute. When fighting together with it, the damage increases slightly. These contents about the introduction of tags made 17th ponder, but the specific functions of title and backpack are not yet clear because they are displayed as none. After digesting it for a while, 17th silently thought to himself, and the panel successfully closed and disappeared. This anime is mostly fast-paced to exciting combat scenes, and the story content is already unclear. Based on my original memory, it is estimated that the 17th is the time period when I first appeared. With confidence in his heart, on the 17th he opened the hatch and stepped out. After standing steadily and scanning around, various information about this research institute echoed in the 17th brain. Black long hair, tall and straight figure, wrapped in a red scarf, under an ordinary coat, exudes a carefree and unrestrained temperament from the inside out. The appearance of artificial person number 17 has filled Drive Grow's heart with a feeling of tension. You're awake, on the 17th. Seeing how long it took for humans to come out, Dr. Grow tightly grasped the controller placed behind him and whispered to explore. The small actions behind Dr. Grow cannot be concealed from the powerful 17th. Hello, Dr. Grow. With the corners of his mouth raised, the 17th greeted the nervous Dr. Grow with a smile on his face. I have already thought of 10086 ways to kill Drive Grow in my heart. Dr. Grow was originally the chief scientist and leader of the Earth's first Red Ribbon Legion. Due to Sun Wukong's elimination of the Red Ribbon Army when he was a child, Dr. Grow, who missed the net, lost his subordinates and was left alone. So he secretly caught a pair of siblings and forcibly transformed them into artificial figures 17 and 18. Its purpose is to manipulate artificial humans to kill Sun Wukong, revive the Red Ribbon Army, and conquer the world along the way. As an artificial person forcibly abducted and transformed by Dr. Grow, the 17th person harbors a strong hatred towards Dr. Grow. In the subsequent training after the renovation, I repeatedly disobeyed orders. Now on the brand new 17th, I feel obligated to send Dr. Grow to the underworld to meet the King of Hell. After hearing the sentence on the 17th, Dr. Grow secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Not bad, not bad. Dr. Grow looked up and down with satisfaction at number 17, and seeing that nothing unexpected had happened, he turned around and pressed the switch of the sleep chamber next door, number 18. A burst of mechanical noise made the long-awaited artificial person finally wake up on the 18th and start working. Hello, Doctor. Before the person even appeared, a crisp and moving voice came into my ears. Immediately after, a stunning figure, exquisite facial features, and smooth golden hair caught the eye, making it unforgettable at first glance. After waking up, the 18th also smiled and obediently stood in front of the doctor, waiting for Dr. Grow to give instructions. But secretly gestured to number 17 with a slightly imperceptible gaze. As siblings who share the same spiritual connection, the 17th naturally sensed the intention in their gaze. You don't need to remind on the 18th, and on the 17th, you know exactly what you should do next. Oh ho 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 ho. Even on the 18th, you took the initiative to greet me, it seems like you have already self-prepared. As he was speaking, number 17, who was originally standing quietly behind him, suddenly took a step forward and reached out to snatch away the controller tightly held by Dr. Grow behind him. No need to think too much, as soon as number 17 received it, he grabbed it tightly and squeezed the controller to pieces. I won't fall into a dark sleep anymore. Dr. Grow, who saw that the situation was not right, quickly stepped back and distanced himself from Su Lang. Of course, Dr. Grow won't be given this opportunity on the 17th. As the saying goes, he'll take your life while you're sick. Release the palm, number 17 let the broken pieces fall from his hand, and then accelerate again towards Dr. Grow's direction. For a moment, Dr. Grow only felt a figure flash in front of him. With his right hand, he effortlessly pierced through Dr. Gro's chest like a swipe through an old newspaper. Slowly lifting his hand, Dr. Gro was suspended in mid-air, looking at the arm of number 17, which had passed through his chest with a worried expression. Ah, poop, you. Newcomers seeking recommendations, collections, and monthly tickets. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will make the necessary changes in a timely manner. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Mechanical Construction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Mechanical Construction. Before Dr. Gro could finish speaking, on the 17th, as if throwing garbage, he waved his hand and threw Dr. Gro, who had pierced his chest, out and slammed him fiercely onto the wall. The wall is shattered, forming a large depression, with spider web-like cracks covering the wall. The huge echo emitted by the impact echoed inside and outside the research institute. Such strength is truly the result of Dr. You sacrificing your control in pursuit of ultimate strength. Closing his eyes and feeling the surging power in his body, the 17th looked intoxicated and couldn't help but admire Dr. Gro, who was deeply trapped in the mountain. Suddenly, mastering the power to destroy the planet made number 17 feel a bit ethereal. Seeing my younger brother take action so quickly that even the controller was destroyed, on the 18th, he quickly took off his disguise and covered his mouth, unable to help but laugh. Oh my, Doctor, why are you doing this? Dr. Gro collapsed on the gravel, his body trembling with uncontrollable anger and fear. The reason why one can continue to survive in such a deadly situation of being punctured in the chest. Dr. Ingrid transformed himself into an artificial human early on in order to live forever. TSK 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 TSK. Look, this old man has even transformed himself into a human. Discovering that Dr. Gro was still struggling tenaciously, the 18th approached in surprise and explained the reason. This old man doesn't even have a heart, so he's probably not of the same type as us. Dr. Gro never imagined that the artificial person he had worked hard to create would one day betray him. It's no use regretting until now. Dr. Gro knows well that he's not just a match for the 17th, but also a coveted 18th. Fortunately, just now we initiated the operation before the 17th, causing Dr. Gro to die now without any harm. Of course, it would be best if he could escape. At this moment, Dr. Gro suppressed his feelings of unwillingness, anger, and resentment one by one, and shouted with red eyes. Don't kill me, Sun Wukong and his team are about to come over. If you die in their hands on the 19th, you must not be opponents either. I have a way to make you stronger again. When he heard Sun Wukong's name, his beautiful face on the 18th was filled with indifference, and his gaze towards Dr. Gro was even more contemptuous. Sun Wukong isn't having hands enough. We can't fight, it's because your two abilities are too weak, lowering the bottom line for us artificial beings. Lowering his head and fiddling with the green onion and jade fingers, the 18th man casually thought to himself. At the beginning, I was a bit worried about the invincible image of Sun Wukong in the anime. For a long time, I was still one of my favorite anime characters. But when Dr. Gro's chest was punctured, the skip prompt on the panel made number 17 no longer afraid. Ding, congratulations on successfully defeating the artificial human Dr. Gro and obtaining the label, Mechanical Creation. Originally, the tag was meant to defeat the enemy and obtain it. On the 17th, he suppressed his inner surprise and did not summon the panel to check. The 17th, who has a vague impression of the plot, is clear that the top priority now is to find Sharu first and nip the enemy that poses the greatest threat to them in the bud. Sharu is a terrifying existence cultivated by Dr. Gro using micro-robots to collect cells from Z-warriors and extraterrestrial organisms, and through genetic technology. And it is said that in order for Sharu to grow to the fullest, he must absorb himself and the 18th. On the 17th, thinking of the scenes in the anime that were absorbed by Sharu made me feel nauseous and infuriated. Upon hearing the huge commotion coming out of the research institute, Klin and others outside the door were extremely anxious. Looking at the copper-walled and iron-walled gate blocking in front of her, Vegeta, who had been watching coldly all along, could no longer resist. "Get out of my way, let me blow it away." With a fierce aura, Vegeta's face was filled with impatience as she angrily rebuked Klin, who was sweating profusely at the door. At this moment, Vegeta just wants to use that bullshit artificial person to prove that she is stronger than Carrot. My Vegeta is the strongest Super Saiyan. I turn a deaf ear to the earnest persuasion around me. Proudly lifting his right arm and pointing towards the door, the golden light waves on his palm quickly condensed. The energy quickly converged into a ball, and Vegeta's arm shook slightly, ejecting it. Boom, boom, a violent explosion shook the entire mountain 3 times, causing the originally unbreakable gate to shatter in all directions. Before the thick smoke generated by the explosion dissipated, Vegeta, who had transformed into a Super Saiyan, rushed in first. Klin, Bic, and Tianjin Fan nodded to each other to follow closely. Tranx, who had always been cautious, couldn't help but feel a bit worried when he witnessed Vegeta's impulsive behavior. As the smoke gradually dissipated, Dr. Gross saw clearly that the person who had come was Vegeta and others who had been chasing him before. In Super Saiyan mode, the blonde Vegeta stands not far away, with her hands wrapped around her, surrounded by a dazzling golden flame. Before being clear about the specific situation, even Vegeta, who believed she was invincible in the world, did not rashly delve deeper. Be brave, but not foolish. Glancing at the young men and women who are exactly like the ones depicted by Tranx, he looked at himself with alert eyes. This is what the 17th and 18th are, it seems no different from the fragile garbage. Simply defined, Vegeta's originally serious face unconsciously showed a hint of contempt. Behind him, Bike, Tianjin Cuisine is not as confident and fearless as Vegeta, and is ready to go. Tranx, carrying a sharp sword, gazed at the familiar and unfamiliar artificial figure 17 and 18, his expression momentarily blurred. For this group of unwelcome guests, on the 18th, they only roughly scanned and didn't pay much attention. Opposite the bald head of classmate Klin, he glanced a few more times. Noticing that the artificial person is focusing their attention on themselves. Klin was extremely nervous and couldn't help but swallow saliva. How could he guess the thoughts of the 18th in his heart? I silently pray that this youthful and beautiful artificial person should not focus on me when the fight starts later. Klin's fragmented recitation on the 18th was certainly not heard, and as things developed, she only found it increasingly interesting. As it was the first time we met, everyone didn't know how to introduce themselves, so the scene suddenly fell silent. Shift your attention to number 18, parked on the ground hibernation pod, and take the lead in breaking this tranquility. Well, what is this number 16? It's probably an artificial person, isn't it? The 18th curiously looked at the hibernation pod with 16 numbers printed on it and reached out to search for it. Don't move, that's a failure, a complete failure. After Dr. Grove finished speaking earlier, he broke in at Vegeta and kept trying to pretend to be dead and downplay himself. Looking at the 18th who came up with the idea of the 16th, immediately stop it loudly at this moment. The reaction on the 17th was okay because he knew what was inside, but Vegeta and others who broke in were surprised. Is there another artificial person? Bic turned his head to look at Tranx, wanting a reasonable explanation, and Tranx's response was also bewildered. Having just defeated the unfamiliar artificial number 19, there will be an additional number 16, and Tranx's concerns are becoming increasingly serious. Dr. Grove's resentment towards him grew wildly as he ignored his words on the 18th. Unfortunately, there was a gap in strength, and Dr. Grove was left with endless curses. Newcomers seeking recommendations, collections, and monthly tickets. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will make the necessary changes in a timely manner. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Strong Properties. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Strong Properties. Only then did everyone in the distance notice that Dr. Grow was like a dead dog, limping to the ground. Otherwise, if it had just made such a loud noise, it might not have been discovered by the end. Noticing Dr. Grow's presence, with a cold snort, the 17th hand condensed an air bomb, intending to first deal with this stinky old man. What a mess, let me take care of them. By eliminating all the people in front of us, we can solve everything. Seeing the energy in the hands of number 17, the disdainful Vegeta turned into a dazzling golden light and took a step forward, firing an air bomb in the direction of number 17. Shwa, 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 a dozen or so golden energy bombs were thrown towards number 17, and Tranx followed closely behind. But the action of killing Dr. Grow on the 17th was not interrupted by the father and son of Vegeta. The cold and ruthless gaze made Dr. Grow realize that he couldn't escape this disaster today, but with caution and attention, let himself have a chance. You all wait for me. At the last moment, Dr. Grow was hit by the air bomb on the 17th, with a mindset of facing death as if returning home. Use your full body energy and plan to treat yourself as a bomb. Even if you can't kill numbers 17 and 18, you can still gamble your luck. After all, there are still a few people like Vegeta. Most importantly, the doctor's self-destruction will definitely destroy the entire research institute and prevent any clues from being revealed. Dr. Grow cursed loudly in an extremely resentful voice at the last moment. Damn 17th, damn Sun Wukong, even if I die, I won't let you go. Ah, ah, ah. As the words fell, Dr. Grow, who had only half of his body left, was bombarded by the 17th gas bomb, emitting a massive amount of energy, which was the result of a self-destructing energy furnace. The massive energy cluster, growing from small to large, has expanded to the point where it is about to break through the entire research institute when it hits the door. At this moment, the research institute is as bright as daylight, and terrifying energy is devouring everything. The air is already overwhelmed, making a continuous sound. It's going to die, run. The thought flashed through my mind, and there was also a desire to punish the artificial people. The crowd dispersed as quickly as possible and fled, attempting to evade this fatal blow. A huge energy cluster, shining like the sun, all objects disappear and dissipate in front of it. The shockwave carried countless stones and dust, rushing forward without a trace. After a mushroom cloud, the 100-mile mountain range around the research institute was flattened. Hoo. Big guy, are you all okay? As a Super Saiyan, Tranx evacuated very quickly and did not suffer any substantial damage. At best, he looked a bit embarrassed. The powerful Bic is not a big deal either. Only Klin grinned on the side, with blood constantly oozing from his broken clothes, looking extremely miserable. Tianjin rice, and you. Cough. Tianjin Fan, severely injured by Dr. Grow's self-explosion, had a weak breath and couldn't even maintain his body shape, shaking and swaying. Quick, have a fairy bean. With the tragic appearance of Tianjin rice, Klin quickly opened the bag and took out a fairy bean to take down for Tianjin rice. As for artificial humans, I don't think they've escaped. Bike looked back at the direction of the research institute. No way, who can resist such an explosion? Klin recalled the devastating explosion just now with lingering fear in his heart. When it comes to artificial humans, Tranx strives to adjust his state. I'm not sure, but it should be around there. Bic's finger was originally located at the research institute. Humph, now I see where else I can escape. With a heavy cold snort, Vegeta, who was eager to find the trail of the artificial human, turned into a golden lightning bolt and flew away. The remaining ones were Bike, Tranx, Tianjin rice, and Klin looked at each other. Looking in the direction of Vegeta's departure, Klin and Tranx let out a deep sigh in the air. Unable to do anything, everyone obediently turned into shooting stars and chased after them. On the ruins, after the dust settled, the light green energy shield was removed on the 17th. This terrifying explosion seemed to have nothing to do with the 17th, with his entire body intact and his hairstyle not even messy. At the moment when the explosion hit him, the 17th decisively used his life-saving skill energy shield from the anime. Outstanding effect. Despite his handsome demeanor, there is still a raging fire burning in the heart of the 17th. I never expected Dr. Grow, this stinky old man, to end up self-destructing and causing such a big commotion. The originally planned plan was beaten to pieces, it's extremely despicable. Summoning up the panel, the 17th found the new tag they had just obtained by defeating Dr. Grow in their backpack. Mechanical creation. A brand new species whose entire body has been mechanically modified. Attribute. Life will be greatly increased, while attack and defense will be slightly enhanced. When equipped with artificial human, at the same time, additional tags, artificial life form, will be obtained, yes/no equipment, definitely equipped, in an instant. Number 17 could only feel countless warm currents rushing towards his body in all directions, his whole body feeling warm and radiant. Holding hands tightly, the 17th estimated that their strength had increased by about 20%. Looking down at the artificial life form emerging from the label. Artificial life forms. Special life forms synthesized through modification. Attribute. You will be exempt from a fatal damage once, but it will not take effect, hiss. Take a cold breath on the 17th, the dropped label is a bit strong. Especially the attributes attached to this artificial life form. Isn't it true that I have gained an additional resurrection armor from now on? I didn't expect Dr. Little Glow to give himself such a big surprise. Looking down at his delicate skin exposed in the distance, the 18th had a gloomy complexion, and his shiny clothes had become tattered. Damn it. The dormant warehouse was deliberately protected on the 18th and did not suffer any damage. After all, the appearance of the 18th is all for this hibernation chamber, otherwise there would be plenty of time to hide in the energy shield of the 17th. Did I open this hibernation chamber? On the 18th, he spoke out and asked, causing the joyful 17th to nod in a panic, expressing agreement. After a slight commotion, a tall figure pushed aside the hibernation chamber and sat up, looking around in confusion. Wearing thick dark green armor with the iconic R on the chest, Moxigan's hairstyle features a pair of resolute eyes. On the 16th, right. I woke you up on the 18th. With an extra artificial companion, the 18th appeared very happy. From now on, you'll get along well with us. 18th pointed earnestly at himself and introduced himself to 17th. After listening to the words with a cold expression, the 16th lowered his head and looked down at the siblings, spitting out a word. Okay. Then, with a faint expression of sadness, he remained motionless and looked up from a distance at a 45-degree angle. The infuriated 18th said to the big guy in front of him, "What kind of attitude are you? You don't even know how to say thank you." Thank you. This is probably a simple and straightforward person. In this situation, the 17th hurriedly came out to smooth the situation. After all, Sharu will have to rely on the 16th big shot later. He may have just come out on the 16th and is not very familiar. We don't need to worry about him. Let's find a place to change your clothes first. How about that? Upon hearing the clothes, 18th's face lit up with joy and he no longer hesitated. A golden meteor suddenly stopped over the artificial trio. I finally found it, it's quite easy to hide. Despite facing Dr. Grow's terrifying self-explosion, he still bounced around alive. This exaggerated performance can be seen by anyone, except for our Super Saiyan Vegeta. The person who came was Vegeta, who had transformed into a Super Saiyan, with a golden aura sweeping through her body, shouting arrogantly at the three people under her feet. Which of you three, come and die first? Newcomers seeking recommendations, collections, and monthly tickets. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will make the necessary changes in a timely manner. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The Betta of Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The Betta of Attack. Covering his head on the ruins, 17th felt as if millions of divine beasts were rushing past in his heart. I really don't want to bother, but Vegeta is like a fly, haunted and annoying. Under the azure sky, the 17th raised an eyebrow to signal the 18th person next to them to solve the problem. Number 18, who is all focused on waiting for what clothes to pair with, has no intention of handling this matter. He glanced at Artificial Man 16 again with the corner of his eye. Well, as guessed on the 17th, it's still a statue. Harmful, at critical moments, we still have to rely on ourselves. Seeing no one paying attention to her, Vegeta's face was gloomy like water, and her aura became even more terrifying. It's simply deceiving people too much. I, Vegeta, am a Super Saiyan Prince. When have I been so ignored and humiliated? At this moment, everyone is on their way here. Desolation kept passing by before his eyes, and Klein spoke angrily. Unexpectedly, in the end, Dr. Grow would choose to self-destruct. Fortunately, I was relatively close to the door and evacuated in a timely manner, otherwise there would be more misfortune than good, Tianjin Fan recalled with a bitter smile on his lips. Just now when we entered, he not only collapsed to the ground, but also had his chest pierced. It should be the betrayal of those two artificial people, which made him resentful. Tranx quickly recounted the situation he had just observed. In that case, the situation of these artificial people seems more complicated. Let's find Vegeta first. Aha, everyone agreed. The Vegeta in the sky ignited completely, and it was the first time he had been looked down upon since he became a Super Saiyan. It is tolerable, which one cannot tolerate. Resolutely lifting her fist entangled in the golden cyclone, Vegeta aimed it at the forehead of number 17 and slammed it hard. Die for me. This strike brought together the long-accumulated anger of Vegeta. The 17th below is very depressed. Why is it always me who gets beaten? Seeing that there was no dodging action on the 17th, Vegeta's face showed an absolutely confident smile. What nonsense artificial person, under the iron fist of Prince Vegeta, there is only one dead end. This angry blow hit the 17th cheek, at the critical moment. With a swoosh, number 17's body swayed slightly in the field of vision, and his figure immediately disappeared. The speed is so fast that even the Super Saiyan Vegeta is a bit unresponsive. Fortunately, with rich combat experience, Vegeta instinctively made a defensive posture and quickly retreated behind. The next second, after experiencing countless battles, Vegeta caught a hint of crisis above her head. As expected, Flight 17 lowered its head and looked down at Vegeta, revealing a thought-provoking smile. Humph, he looks down upon no one and bullies others too much. The massive energy inside the body is crazily mobilized, operated, and compressed. Vegeta quickly launched a new round of attack. The collision sound of boom, rumble, could not be ignored. The two of them went from mid-air to the ground, and then from mid-air to the ground, but Vegeta's domineering attack was easily blocked by the 17th. No matter how fierce Vegeta's moves are, it feels like a drizzle when it comes to the 17th, whose mechanical creations have greatly increased in strength. On the 17th, while perfunctory about Vegeta, he fantasized about what kind of label he would gain by defeating Vegeta. Okay, it's not really important whether or not to label it, what's important is that there won't be many opportunities to play a fair game against Vegeta in the future. Take advantage of this now, we need to punch more. Are you joking? Despite multiple attacks, there was no progress at all, Vegeta shouted at number 17 with a red face. Ignoring Vegeta's incompetence and rage, with a cold airflow, on the 17th, he flashed past Vegeta. Immediately, he clenched his palm into a fist and struck a hard blow, hitting Vegeta's soft abdomen. This speed, when Vegeta reacted, was like a broken kite, with both feet off the ground and flying backwards. The disheveled performance caught the eye of the rushed Klin and others. Seeing Klin and others, Vegeta's face turned blue and white. Klin, Tianjin Fan, and Bike were extremely shocked. It seems that the strength of this artificial person is different from what Tranx told us. Tranx looked at the unfamiliar tall figure standing side by side with number 18 on the ruins, and his heart sank once again. Artificial human number 16. But it was Vegeta who quickly stabilized her figure. The faint pain in her abdomen changed Vegeta's previous arrogance and made her look down on others. The artificial person in front of me not only has an extraordinary demeanor, but also his strength cannot be underestimated. It seems that he cannot deal with it without showing his true strength. Accompanied by the cry of Vegeta, the golden air waves surrounding her body danced wildly, and the towering energy almost turned into a physical entity, soaring into the sky. The boiling and tumultuous waves vented the endless anger in Vegeta's heart. The hidden energy inside Vegeta's body was completely released, and the uncontrollable golden energy dissipated in strands. The clouds hovering above, in this majestic momentum, can only scatter and flee in a disheveled manner. Looking up, the hazy sky was coated with a layer of pale gold. The strength of Vegeta and the explosive aura made Yamcha and others in the Turtle Immortal House clearly feel it. The few people watching the battle were still worried about the safety of Vegeta's life in the first second, but in the second, the powerful energy of Vegeta left them stunned. Vegeta, are you so strong? Saiyan, what a monster! Everyone had various expressions of amazement, and Vegeta could see everything in her eyes, with a satisfied expression on her face. This is my effort over the past 3 years. Readjust the state, bring out all the strength of Vegeta, and prepare to deal with all the artificial people in one go. This time, I'm going to break you down in 8 pieces. Vegeta hooked her hand and announced with a passionate expression. On the surface, it may seem extremely arrogant, but secretly, Vegeta is ready to test it first. Just now, the attack was easily blocked by an artificial person, not because of hiding one's own strength. With such a grand appearance, I really deserve the 3 words, Vegeta. After reciting, on the 17th, with a powerful and heavy whip, he called out to Vegeta. Off the field, Kling raised his heart to his throat and stared intently at the battlefield, not blinking for fear of missing the exciting moment. The movement trajectory of artificial humans is clear to Vegeta. Vegeta, who pretended to dodge the attack, prepared to take the initiative in the moment he dodged, and was bound to catch the 17th off guard. The actions that Vegeta can see clearly are even more effortless on the 17th. At the moment of contact, the two of them were once again entangled in a fight, going back and forth, seeing and breaking each other's moves, without any distinction between top and bottom. The attack speed is too fast, ordinary people can only see aerial shadows or listen to the sound of explosions in the air. This attack has caused darkness and flying sand and rocks around. Shwa, shwa, shwa. After struggling for a few minutes, gasping for breath and feeling sore all over, Vegeta decided to take the initiative to distance herself. Looking across, number 17 remained calm and energetic. Who is strong or weak? Make a judgment from high to low. Newcomers seeking recommendations, collections, and monthly tickets. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will make the necessary changes in a timely manner. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Dust Landing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Dust Landing. Even such a powerful Vegeta failed to defeat the artificial humans and fell into a disadvantage, leaving everyone stunned by the result. The smile that the artificial person in front of her has been wearing at the corner of her mouth is still deeply hurting Vegeta's heart. Could it be that the other party didn't even take themselves seriously? Ah, I'm a Super Saiyan named Vegeta. Vegeta, who did not allow herself to fail, wildly waved her arms, and energy bombs formed in an instant, throwing them out of her hands one after another. Staring at the energy bomb that covered his head and face, number 17 remained calm, shook his hair, and stood still. Under a fierce bombardment, thick smoke and dust covered the figure of the 17th, and Vegeta's face showed joy. Under such high intensity and intensive attacks, Vegeta firmly believes that the 17th will be seriously injured. The continuous roar of explosions and the sky full of dust allowed the spectators to once again experience the terrifying aspects of Vegeta. After finally waiting for the dust to settle, Kling quickly probed to check the situation. In the 100-meter deep pit bombed out, a green and translucent protective cover was exposed, and the 17th was unharmed inside. Now Vegeta's hot heart was completely extinguished. There are various speculations in my mind, but the result is just like this. Vegeta didn't see it, even under Dr. Gro's violent self-explosion just now, number 17 was carried over with an energy shield. Dealing with number 17 in this way is simply a waste of energy. Tranx is like falling into an abyss, and the artificial number 17 in the future world is not so outrageous. In the deep pit, the 17th did not miss the opportunity for a short circuit in Vegeta's mind. A standard ejection start appeared in front of Vegeta. Seizing the blank moment in her daze, she waved a punch and sent Vegeta up in mid-air. Feeling the pain, Vegeta quickly began to fight back. The 17th fist went straight out, hitting the weakest part of Vegeta with all its strength. Vegeta struggled to defend and maintain her figure, while allowing the 17th bombardment to rise higher and higher above the ground. I don't know if it's the 100th punch, but the figure below is the size of an ant, and the height is obviously enough. Goodbye to you. Flashing to a higher place, number 17 gathered all his strength and focused on his elbow, fiercely smashing onto the back of Vegeta with unparalleled strength. With a wow sound, Vegeta vomited blood from her mouth. Uncontrolled rapid descent of the body. With this mouthful of blood spraying out, Vegeta lost her last bit of strength and exited Super Saiyan mode in mid-air. Vegeta felt unbearable pain all over her body, unable to breathe for a moment, her eyelids unusually heavy, and her vision gradually blurred. How many chapters are you going to fail? The fatal strike on the 17th, combined with the gravitational pull of the planet, caused the already heavily damaged Earth to smash into a deep pit of several tens of meters. In the pit, Vegeta's eyes widened slightly, trying to lift her scarred arms and make a final struggle. The proud figure ultimately failed to stand up. Ding! Congratulations on successfully defeating Super Saiyan Vegeta and obtaining the label, Pure Saiyan. Holding his fist, feeling the inexhaustible energy in panel prompts in his body, the 17th felt extremely happy. Seeing the annoying fly finally shut up, the 18th nodded in satisfaction and whistled happily. On the 16th, let's go and find Sun Wukong. Suddenly pausing and realizing that there was something wrong with his speech, the 18th changed his tone. No, I should have changed my clothes first. In the distance, Klin and Tianjin Fan were shocked by the terrifying power of artificial humans and had not yet recovered. The inner turmoil fluctuated, and no one could have guessed such a result. As the second Super Saiyan on the field, Tranx's eyes instantly cracked. Father. The scene in front of him reminded Tranx of the tragic situation of everyone in the future world. I will never let tragedy repeat itself. Pulling out the sword on his back, Tranx leaped high. With both hands wielding their swords, Tranx swung a sword at number 17, which was bound to split it in half. Contrary to expectations, number 17 only slightly moved his body, then extended two fingers and firmly grasped the sharp sword that cut iron like mud between the lightning and fire stones. The slender fingers have a green glow, and it was the 17th that covered the energy on the fingers. Tranx, suspended in the air, exerted all his strength, with fine sweat rising from his forehead, but his sword remained motionless, as if he had been enchanted. Not only that, but also the arm of the 17th, holding a sharp sword, slowly tilted to one side. Tranx, who held the hilt of the sword, also uncontrollably tilted to one side. Looking at Tranx, who gritted his teeth and persevered, on the 17th, his heart was filled with playfulness. Do you think your sword is powerful or my fingers are better? This made Tranx feel uneasy and panicked, wanting to pull out his sword. The next second, number 17 suddenly shook his arm with a powerful force that made it impossible for Tranx to grasp the handle of the sword and fly away. Surprisingly, it didn't stop. It seems that my kung fu wasn't up to par. After all, it can't be that there's a problem with the film and television, right? 17th caressed his sword and muttered to himself. Forget it, I'll give it back to you. The Tranx that flew out had not yet stabilized its figure, and a stream of light flashed narrowly across its cheek. With a buzzing sound, the sharp sword firmly plunged into the ground. The scorching sun shines brightly, and on the ruins that are completely unrecognizable, gusts of wind and sand occasionally roll up. Tranx, who easily killed Fleisa with a single sword, was repelled by the 17th move, and everyone was intimidated by their terrifying strength, afraid to make any moves. Tranx landed steadily on the ground, his inner beliefs unwavering, and his blood gradually boiling. Ah, 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 ah. Accompanied by roars of anger, transformed into a Super Saiyan. Tranx, entangled in golden light, drew the sword thrown to the ground by number 17. Aim at number 17, use all your strength, and once again wield the sharp sword in your hand. Looking at Tranx rushing towards him, number 17 calmly opened his protective cover. The stormy attack was blocked by the light green protective cover. The sword and shield collide fiercely each time, emitting clanging sounds. The terrifying force caused number 17 to involuntarily retreat, leaving a deep scratch on the ground from the protective cover. Bike, who was far away, took this opportunity and quickly flew to the deep pit to rescue Vegeta and feed him a fairy bean. Quickly, under the magical influence of fairy beans, Vegeta became lively again. Regarding her recent disastrous defeat, Vegeta's eyes were filled with unwillingness and anger. Besides Kakarot himself, he was actually defeated by another artificial being. It's simply a great shame. Seeing that the other two artificial beings remained indifferent, they immediately transformed into Super Saiyan and flew into the battle against number 17. The energy shield appeared effortless in the face of Tranx's 1.1 attack, and the 17th inside only occasionally found an opportunity to counterattack. Accompanied by the sudden intrusion of Vegeta. With the strong cooperation of father and son, a crack quickly appeared on the protective cover. Newcomers seeking recommendations, collections, and monthly tickets. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will make the necessary changes in a timely manner. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. I am a good person. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. I am a good person. There is no concern about this on the 17th, as he has unlimited energy. Although the output power is constant, as long as he is not broken by a single blow, he can repair it with energy. Seeing that she was about to break the energy shield of this damn artificial person, Vegeta's confidence greatly increased. Regarding the father and son's lack of martial ethics, the 17th smiled in silence. How about standing still and letting them fight for 3 days and 3 nights, becoming the first exhausted Saiyan? On the 17th, I was having a brilliant idea when I suddenly realized that I couldn't continue to waste time here. Dr. Gro is now dead, but there is still a big boss named Sharu. We must prioritize the overall situation. Vegeta and Tranx, through their protective covers, not only did they not worry at all, but they even dared to distract themselves and think recklessly, completely ignoring them. The exaggerated performance made Vegeta and Tranx, who were putting in all their efforts, feel uneasy and uneasy. Looking at each other, a hint of retreat emerged in their eyes. The decisive 17th took the initiative to remove his energy shield and flew into the clouds, raising his hands and jokingly pointing downwards. Let you see what horror is like. The people below looked up and fired terrifying energy bombs, quickly condensing as if they didn't want money. In just a few blinks, several people's vision was completely covered by energy bombs. Here, run quickly. Feeling a huge threat, Tranx exclaimed and quickly retreated. But it was too late, and under the control of number 17, a dense array of energy bullets burst out like bullets in a machine gun. With this fierce storm and deadly attack, Vegeta had no choice but to find shelter. The energy bomb is centered around Vegeta and Tranx, accompanied by a piercing roar through the eardrums, and the ground is once again filled with spherical deep pits. Looking at the dying and struggling Tranx. There is no intention of killing everyone on the 17th. They may be one of the helpers in dealing with Sharu, and killing them would be of no benefit to themselves, and would also attract the hostility of Sun Wukong. So, on the 17th, while estimating that the opponent was injured and unable to move, he stopped his crazy output. Ding! Congratulations on successfully defeating Super Saiyan Vegeta and obtaining the tag, Royal Bloodline. Ding! Congratulations on successfully defeating the Super Saiyan Tranx and obtaining the label, Time Traveler. With a pleasant hint and a satisfied nod, the 17th patted his sleeve, tidied up his slightly messy hairstyle, and turned away with a satisfied smile. It's time to meet them on the 18th. Why don't you take the opportunity to solve them? That guy from Vegeta is very annoying. Faced with a geological question of confusion on the 18th, the 17th could only wave their hand, let out a deep sigh, and helplessly explain. Don't worry about them. We'll have a very scary opponent later. Who, Sun Wukong? No, it's Sharu. Saying Sharu's name with a serious expression, on the 17th he received a confused little gaze from the 18th. Sharu, who is it? Sun Wukong's companion. On the 17th, she suddenly forgot about the 18th. She had not read the comic, and it is still unclear about Sharu's existence. Shaking his head, on the 17th, he tried hard to find a clip about Sharu, and explained it reasonably. I was the ultimate artificial human created by the stinky old man, whom Dr. Grow only discovered by eavesdropping on before. If it's just like us, it's okay. Dr. Grow's damn thing actually sets that Sharu has multiple forms, and the most important thing is to devour and absorb both of us in order to achieve it. So, we must find Sharu in advance and destroy him, right? On the 18th, she hugged her hands and didn't wait for the 17th to finish speaking before answering first. Yes, and then we need to take action together on the 16th. Because we may not be able to win against Sharu yet. After speaking, he stared at the 16th and waited quietly for a response on the 17th. Observing the battlefield that was completely destroyed by the 17th, the 16th's eyes flickered, unsure of what was on his mind. After a while, I nodded expressionlessly to show my willingness to help. But the unbearable feeling that flashed through the eyes of the 16th was still caught by the 17th. Upon careful reflection on the 17th, it suddenly dawned on him that in the anime, the 16th did not enjoy fighting and was very passionate about animals and nature. And the operation on the 17th just now was almost like writing the 4 words, I am a bad guy, on the forehead. After knowing the reason, number 17 tried to stand on tiptoe and pat number 16's shoulder, barely smiling and speaking. Don't worry, this is my first time breaking free from constraints. I've played too much for a while, so be sure to pay attention next time. I also love this nature very much. Watching the little one in front of him tiptoeing onto his shoulder, number 16 hesitated for a moment before unconsciously grinning. Under the indiscriminate bombing, Vegeta was once again heavily scarred, and the battle suit was stained with blood. In the Super Saiyan mode, Vegeta reluctantly hung up and begged Klin for fairy beans. Klin, Tianjin Fan, and Bike were fine, but they were not on the priority care list on the 17th, so they easily avoided the attack just now. Not waiting for Klin to untie the rope containing fairy beans. 3 white flames rushed into the sky, and it was the 17th, along with the 18th and 16th, who came knocking on them. Klin, who was very nervous, quickly put on a posture and tried to resist. Despite the continuous flow of blood on his body, Tranx still chose to block in front of a few people. His expression was incredibly resolute, he gritted his teeth and whispered. Damn artificial person, damn it. No matter how powerful or terrifying an artificial being is, Tranx will not back down. Ignoring the fear of others towards him, the sharp-eyed 17th noticed the fairy beans around Clint's waist early on. Xidu is a super artifact in the 7 Dragon Balls. In anime, as long as you don't immediately lose your breath and suffer severe injuries, one can immediately recover to its original state. It can be said to be a must-have for home travel. Give it a swish. Faced with the sudden appearance of number 17 next to him, Clint suddenly showed embarrassment, his tense body soaked in sweat, and his throat kept swallowing. On the 17th, he flashed up to Clint and saw the fairy beans in front of him. He reached out and pulled them from Clint's hand, then put them in his bag. Everyone gritted their teeth and stared at everything, while Tranx was tightly held by Bic beside him. "You're not allowed to grab this." "I don't know where the courage came from," Clint exclaimed out of nowhere. As soon as he spoke, Clint began to regret it, his mind blank, and then thought of the scene where he was killed by the ruthless artificial person in front of him. "You guys broke into my house and even started beating people if you didn't agree. Now I'm not going to go too far if I want to bag fairy beans." With a helpless expression on his face, the 17th shook the fairy bean bag he had taken from his hand and said, "If it were someone with a bad temper, you would have already reported it in the underworld." Sigh. "There's nothing I can do, who calls me a good person? Newcomers seeking recommendations, collections, and monthly tickets. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will make the necessary changes in a timely manner." End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Future Time and Space. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Future Time and Space. Who calls me a good person? A light and ethereal sentence echoed in everyone's ears, unwilling to disperse. Several people had different reactions to this sentence, but without exception, they were all greatly shocked. What does it mean that you are a good person? Is it difficult or are we wrong in the end? Kling was extremely depressed in his heart. What kind of thing is this? Vegeta, who had no intention of fighting, immediately became angry after hearing the words of the 17th. She raised her head and glared angrily, clenched her fists, and her teeth clenched in her mouth. If it weren't for the lack of strength, Vegeta would have already rushed forward and fought another 300 rounds against the 17th. Tranx, wielding a sharp sword, shook his head decisively while looking extremely shocked. Tranx, from the future world, has witnessed the brutality of artificial humans destroying the world. Artificial humans were once the nightmare that Tranx least wanted to recall. Upon careful recollection, Tranx discovered that except for the first appearance of the 19th and Dr. Grow, the 3 artificial figures in front of me seem to have indeed done nothing excessive as they said. Is it my mistake, or has history been rewritten? For a moment, Tranx fell into a deep self-contradiction. Silence is the main melody at this moment. Alright, today is your lucky day, so I'll spare your life. Hurry up and tell me where Sun Wukong is. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless and causing you all to die one by one. Cruel words came from around the 17th, and indeed, breaking the silence still depends on the beautiful and kind-hearted 18th. Compared to the unattainable Sharu, the 18th is more concerned about Sun Wukong in front of him. Anyway, they are all going to die, and on the 18th, they don't care about any first come, first served, or sequential order. A few people in thought have not yet reacted. Give up, we won't betray Wukong. Clint, standing behind Tranx, immediately jumped out and loudly retorted. Clint, who was incredibly weak, surprisingly opposed it at the first time, which made the 18th somewhat impressed. Yo, you little bald guy, you didn't notice it. I hope your body will be harder than your mouth later. But this doesn't affect anything, the threat of the 18th still blurted out. Although others did not speak up to refute, they put on a welcoming attitude and proved through practical actions that they would not betray their partners. Watching the reactions of these defeated subordinates, the 18th covered his mouth and chuckled. With all of you, I can solve it with just one hand. Okay, then I'll kill you first, and then slowly find the shrunken turtle son Wukong. As soon as the words fell, Tranx's eyes immediately widened in anger, ready to draw his sword and crossbow. Seeing that both sides were going to fight fiercely, the 17th pressed down on their palm, indicating that the 18th should close their mouths and keep quiet. So far, I'll take a bag of fairy beans from you and count it as compensation for your reckless behavior just now, said the 17th, weighing the fairy beans in his hand. Then, I came here mainly to warn you, stay at home honestly lately and don't run around. Hey, damn it, tell me what you're saying clearly. Vegeta, whose face was full of displeasure, angrily said. The heart of number 17 has already been hooked away by the panel, and I don't even want to pay attention. So, in a vigilant gaze, the 17th head skyrocketed without turning back and quickly turned into a dot. The mute 16th followed closely from beginning to end, while the 18th gave a fierce glare at the protruding Klin and flew away. The ferocious trio of artificial humans finally left. Klin, who was completely flaccid, collapsed on the ground in an instant. I was scared to death. I thought I was going to fight them earlier, Klin said with lingering fear as he touched his chest. By the way, that artificial person is on the 17th. What does it mean to be honest and honest in the end? Tianjin Fan asked a question. Who knew, but on the 16th, 17th, and 18th, they showed mercy and didn't kill us. Isn't it true that they commit heinous crimes and take pleasure in killing people? Hinterly, Clint frowned and asked Tranx next to him. Speaking of Tranx, the artificial person you met is also so handsome, is it so strong? The appearance is the same, but if you are so strong, I am afraid I will not see you. With a bitter expression on his face, Tranx forced out a little smile and said. Hey, if we had just waited for Mr. Wukong to come, the result might not have been like this. Tranx looked towards Vegeta with a disappointed expression on his face. Humph. After hearing the 3 words of Sun Wukong without saying a word, Vegeta let out a heavy cold snort and a sense of confusion appeared on her face. Will it be different for him this time? Impossible, even I have been defeated. How could a lower-level warrior like Kakarot be stronger than me? The just thought was instantly extinguished by Vegeta. Betta, who suffered a tragic defeat at Waterloo, was ignored by the 17th. At this moment, my mood is extremely restless, and I don't even want to hear the nonsense of the Klings. So he rose up from the ground, but the bewildered Vegeta didn't know where to go, so he randomly found a direction to escape. Upon seeing this, Tranx was about to get up and stop, but the next moment he felt lost and lost. How could he listen to me? Bick, who knew about the specific situation of Tranx and Vegeta on the side, spoke up and advised. Tranx, why don't you come and take a look, after all, Vegeta is your father. Taking this opportunity, I think you must have a lot to say to him too. Ah. Before Tranx was taken aback, Klin and Tianjin Fan couldn't help but shout out. Faced with several people's surprised reactions, Bick calmly pointed to his ear with a calm expression. I have better ears than you, so I knew it from your conversation with Wukong. You go quickly, we'll wait for you to bring back Vegeta at Wukong's house. Okay, Tranx didn't drag his feet and quickly got up to catch up. Tranx is the son of Vegeta and Bulma. He came to us from the future world on a time machine with the purpose of eliminating the artificial humans just now. According to Tranx's description, artificial humans should be very evil and enjoy destroying and killing, but for some reason, those few people don't seem to fit. Looking far away at Tranx, Bick spoke up to explain to Tianjin Fan and Klin. Time machine, future world. It's for Vegeta and Bulma. The huge amount of information in this paragraph made the two of them unable to help but feel silent. Nodding his head, Bick continued, in the future world where Tranx is located, we have all been brutally killed by artificial humans, leaving only Tranx and Bulma to support us. Finally, with Bulma's persistent efforts, he developed the time machine, and it was only then that Tranx had the opportunity to come to our time and space, attempting to change the occurrence of all these tragedies. The situation is probably like this. If you're interested, you can go and ask in person. While Clin and Tianjin Fan were digesting this information, Bick tightly closed his eyes, took a few deep breaths, and suddenly opened them, his eyes shining brightly, as if he had made a big decision. I have something to do, I need to take a step first. After speaking, Bick had already disappeared into the sky. Newcomers seeking recommendations, collections, and monthly tickets. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will make the necessary changes in a timely manner. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Equipment Failure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Equipment Failure. Clin and Tianjin Fan both had a slight guess in their hearts as they looked towards the direction Bike was leaving. Are we going to Wukong's house now for Tianjin cuisine? No, I'm planning to go find dumplings to meet up first. Besides, my current strength may not be of much use in the upcoming battles. Tianjin Fan looked at his unbearable appearance and said with a disappointed expression. Ah, okay. Kling didn't know what to say for a moment. Don't worry, I won't be defeated by such setbacks at Tianjin restaurant. Remember to let me know when you need me, and I will definitely come and help. With a word of take care, Tianjin cuisine also disappeared from Klin's sight. Klein, who was left alone, scratched his head. Forget it, let's go to Wukong's house first. Finally, it turned into a stream of light and disappeared. Let this space regain its former tranquility and peace once again. Inside the mysterious base, rows of machines were placed, and the black display screen in the center of the hall suddenly lit up automatically. After flashing a few times, a portrait of Dr. Groh, who had already self-destructed, appeared. Jia, wait for me. The cold machine synthesized sound echoes in this dark world, making people shiver. The azure sky, dazzling sunlight shining through the clouds onto the earth, flowing colorful clouds dancing in the air with the wind. A few black spots in the distance, from far to near, quickly skimmed through the sky, cutting through the clouds and leaving a shining light. It was the 17th who led the search for Sharu's artificial trio. The overlapping mountains kept passing by before the 18th, and she turned to look at her brother in confusion and asked. Are we going to find Shalu now? By the way, do you know where Shalu is? The originally spirited expression suddenly froze, and on the 17th, nothing could be said. If we could know where Shalu came from and forget about the 17th, there would be ghosts. The question from the 18th made the 17th feel a bit embarrassed, and they wished they could find a crack in the ground to get in. After all, they were confident and offered to go find Shalu. Looking at my younger brother hesitating for a long time without saying anything for granted, the 18th already knew the answer. You don't even know where Shalu is, let's fly with you for so long. On the 18th, who stood still in mid-air, he pouted to vent his dissatisfaction. So my suggestion is to go down first, find a car to drive, enjoy the scenery along the way, and then go change clothes together. After all, flying like this is really exhausting. Okay, I'll listen to you this time, agreed the 17th after thinking for a moment. Since I have forgotten, I chose to wait for Sharu to deliver me on the 17th. The 16th at the end had a change in expression, seeming to want to say something, but ultimately chose to remain silent. Taking advantage of this gap, the 17th quickly opened the panel to see what the newly obtained tags were. Silently summon the panel. Name. Number 17 level. 60 title. None tags. Artificial man, permanent energy stove, like hands and feet, mechanical creation, artificial life form, backpack. Pure Saiyan, royal bloodline, time traveler. The newly acquired tag abilities are as follows. The person who travels through time and space. In the underworld, there is a divine will, and everything in the future is possible. Attribute. Can travel through time and space unscathed. Pure Saiyan. The Saiyan, a renowned fighting nation in the universe. Attribute: possessing the purest combat ethnic Saiyan bloodline royal lineage. As the name suggests, the purest Saiyan royal lineage. Attribute: greatly enhances talent and will be the king in the hearts of all Saiyans. Equipment restriction: must have Saiyan ancestry. This is of Saiyan descent, good guy. On the 17th, there was a burst of ecstasy in his heart, wondering what was the most powerful among the 7 Dragon Balls. The first is 7 dragon beads, and the second is the Saiyan bloodline displayed in front of us. Unexpectedly, this Saiyan bloodline easily exploded, and I am indeed the European Emperor. Equipment, equipment, equipment. Ding, there is a conflict between pure Saiyan and artificial, mechanical creation, permanent energy furnace, artificial life body, and they cannot be equipped. Yes/no, they will be removed and equipped. The prompt content that popped up on the 17th couldn't help but want to curse loudly. After some operation on the 17th, only the time traveler in this backpack can be equipped. On the 17th, I adjusted my mindset and constantly comforted myself. It's already very good, obtaining this will give you hope in the future. Oh yeah. On the 18th, he exclaimed in surprise, his speed suddenly increased, and he quickly shook off the 2 of them on the 17th. Follow up quickly. Amidst constant reminders, the 17th and 16th followed closely behind. Here, there's a pink car over here. While shouting loudly, the 18th still remembered to wave and call out. I found a pink van at the 18th from a distance. After arriving at the location, several people quickly descended. Several vehicles were parked crookedly on the roadside, among which the most prominent was a pink van. Give me a cup of coffee, as usual, no sugar. The man walked lazily, yawned, and said to the nearby stall owner. Ha ha ha, you guy, this morning. Here, your coffee, the boss happily greeted him after seeing his familiar appearance. The middle-aged man, holding a warm coffee in his hand, tugged at his clothes and squatted down, chatting with the stall owner for a casual conversation. Have you listened to the radio? I heard that there has been a major incident in the south. What? The stall owner said nonchalantly. The situation is quite chaotic, I heard many people have died. The man froze and danced as he recounted the content from the broadcast. Well, that's it. Surrounding the pink van, constantly scrutinizing, the 18th said contentedly. But after opening the car, looking at the pile of debris inside, number 18 frowned. Big guy, go clean up these garbage first, otherwise it's too crowded and you probably won't be able to sit down. After listening to it on the side, number 16 took a few steps forward, then held the bottom of the van with his right hand and the roof with his left hand. He gently lifted the van, and finally shook it up and down vigorously, pouring out the garbage inside. The van had just stabilized and the 18th couldn't wait to get into the driver's seat. The 2 of them, who were originally calmly drinking coffee and chatting, were frightened by the operation on the 16th and collapsed to the ground. The middle-aged man fell to the ground with a loud thud, crying with heart-wrenching cries. Wadiche. But due to the size of number 16, he dared not step forward to obstruct, and number 17 followed the co-pilot. Waiting for the car to sink behind, the driver's seat number 18 skillfully ignited and started. This pink van flew away in the dazed gaze of the boss. Hey, would you like some music? When Tranx found Vegeta, he stood alone on the mountaintop, enjoying the cool breeze. Vegeta looked up at the sky and coldly closed her eyes. Wukong, am I stronger than you? But it seems like you're not really a big deal. Bulma's words echoed through Vegeta's mind. Newcomers seeking recommendations, collections, and monthly tickets. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will make the necessary changes in a timely manner. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Tranx's Conjecture. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Tranx's Conjecture, The scene is vividly remembered, and Vegeta, feeling unwilling, clenched her hands and let out bursts of shouts. After venting her pent-up emotions, Vegeta took a deep breath of fresh air. Can we say that the Super Saiyan are not invincible in the world? Otherwise, how could I have been beaten to tears by that artificial person and become like this? What is this? Calm down, Vegeta muttered to herself, trying to find the answer. I am the most outstanding and pure prince among the Saiyan people. Now that I have become a Super Saiyan, my Vegeta should be the strongest in the entire universe. Accompanied by Vegeta's constant self-questioning, her body involuntarily trembled due to emotional fluctuations, and sweat flowed down her forehead. Or is this my limit because the opponent is an artificial person? The mountains are continuous, the north wind is howling, and no one can tell him the answer. No, I'm Vegeta. Even if my opponent is 100 times stronger than me, I will surpass him. The inner will burns fiercely. It is precisely because of this unwavering will that Vegeta has been able to walk step by step to the present. That's right, I'm Vegeta. Kakarot, once I finish cleaning up the artificial world, it's your turn next. Looking at the horizon, Vegeta secretly swore. Vegeta's appearance made Tranx, standing in the distance, recall the words his mother, Bulma, had said in his mind. Your father is very aloof, extremely cold towards everything, and does not easily reveal his true feelings. But under his ferocity and coldness, he has a strong sense of protection and self-esteem. It is because of appreciating him that we are together. Father. Thinking of these words, Tranx decided to take advantage of the fact that no one recognized Vegeta now, so he shouted in front of her. Vegeta, who calmed her mood on the mountaintop, turned her head to look at Tranx. Even though she had heard Bic mention his name before, Vegeta had already guessed that this purple-haired young man was likely his future son. But when it was truly confirmed and heard, there was a different feeling deep within Vegeta's heart. Staring intently at Tranx, a hint of pride flashed in Vegeta's eyes before turning her head back to her usual coldness. What are you doing over here? A series of changes in Vegeta's expression caught Tranx's eye, and he let out a bitter smile before reluctantly speaking. I came to see you mainly because I want to recognize you. I will also take you to Mr. Wukong's house to discuss countermeasures. For a long time, only the sound of the wind kept whistling in Tranx's ear. Do you think adding carrot can deal with modern humans? A slightly hoarse voice came from Vegeta's mouth. This made Tranx silently bow his head and remain silent for a moment. I'm not sure what the situation is now. The artificial humans in this time and space are completely different from the ones I've encountered. After a long period of observation, at this moment, Tranx expressed his accumulated ideas. I think maybe it's because I'm not traveling in the same time and space that everything is too far from the future world. Betta, with her back to Tranx, did not waver after listening to Tranx's inner speculation. Anyway, my Vegeta will definitely take care of all the artificial people. Biting her teeth, Vegeta swore to herself again, looking expressionlessly at Tranx. It's too late to say these things, come with me. Tranx, who was stunned, heard Vegeta's shout in the sky and his face lit up with joy. On the way to the temple, Bic's heart was unusually heavy. The situation had reached this point, and it was time to go find that old man. Only by assimilating and becoming a super nemesis, can we have the opportunity to defeat artificial beings and save the world. Amidst the towering clouds, there is a towering temple where a heavenly deity protects the human world at all times. The legendary celestial god is actually a Namek from the vast universe, who by chance became a celestial god and created the Dragon Ball. The Bike Demon King, who once caused chaos in the world, is the manifestation of evil thoughts within this heavenly god's body. Time flies like a shuttle, as strong as a deity, but it cannot escape the baptism of time. Nowadays, the deity is like an ordinary old man with wrinkles on his face and unsteady steps. The heavenly deity stood steadfast, holding a wooden staff, and slowly walked out from the depths of the magnificent palace. As the only attendant in the temple, Bobo quickly ran from the garden to the side of the heavenly god, looking respectful and asking questions. "Heavenly god, do you have anything to do?" "He's here." Before Bobo could understand the meaning, Bic landed in a dusty and powerful aura. "You're here." The appearance of Bike, who was also a member of the Namex, caused the gods to fall into a brief moment of contemplation. "I must come." The cloak danced with the wind, and Bic's gaze was burning as he looked straight at the gods, his tone icy. "If you probably know everything, then join me as one. Only by making me a super nemesis can I save all of this." The celestial being holding a cane pondered while lightly tapping the ground, feeling extremely emotional. "Yeah, it seems that the day of the fusion of the heavenly god and the great demon king has finally arrived." The conversation between the heavenly god and Bike left Bobo shocked and quickly dissuaded. "Heavenly god, if you merge together, you will disappear, and the most important thing is that the divine dragon will also disappear." Without any fear, in this last period of time, the heavenly god sincerely expressed gratitude to Bobo, who had been with him for many years. "Bobo, thank you for your company over the years. I won't trouble you any more after I leave." "God, it's my honor to be by your side." Bobo's voice trembled as he restrained himself from crying. "But the gods who are aware of the current human crisis will make a decisive decision and no longer delay. Follow me." Then the heavenly god led his way into the temple with a staff, and Bic followed closely behind. Wukong's new home is still located on the picturesque Baozi Mountain, where birds sing and flowers are fragrant. In the simple decorated house, even though Yamu Ti had given Wukong the antidote early on, Wukong still lay in the hospital bed unable to wake up and continued to faint. He occasionally furrowed his brow and showed pain on his face. The door of the room was opened with a click. It is Chi-Chi who perseveres despite facing the uncertain fate of Wukong. Chi-Chi, holding warm water, came to the bed and carefully wiped the cold sweat on Wukong's forehead. After shaking her head with a dejected expression on her face, Yamcha silently withdrew from the room. Out came the breathable Yamu Ti, and from a distance, one could see a person rushing towards this side alone in the sky. The distance was too far, and it was difficult to see who was coming. The puzzled Yamcha didn't wait to land and took the initiative to fly in front of her for a conversation. "Oh, Klin, you're the only one here." After realizing it was Klin, Yamcha exclaimed in surprise. Kling explained with an embarrassed expression, "Stop it, Vegeta and Tranx teamed up to defeat an artificial human. If it weren't for an artificial human, being merciful would have resulted in unimaginable consequences. I don't even know what to do now. By the way, has Wukong woken up?" "No, after I fed him the medicine, he fell asleep all the time," Yamcha said quickly. "So, that's terrible. The next target of the artificial human is Wukong, and Klin is worried. Newcomers seeking recommendations, collections, and monthly tickets. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will make the necessary changes in a timely manner." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Target Xidu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Target Xidu. Outside, Klin is considering whether to transfer Wukong to prevent human attacks. "Mom, I'm back," a familiar voice came from a long distance. Klin looked up and saw that Wufan, who was taking Bulma home, had returned. Chi-Chi, who was taking care of Wukong in the room, rushed out when she heard her son's voice. Holding on to the newly landed Wufan, Chi-Chi's face was filled with heartache and she said, "My Wufan, you've come back to count it." "Oh, I'm fine, Mom." Wufan scratched his head and responded with a smile. After struggling to break free from the constraints, Wufan asked Klin with an expectant expression about the results of everyone dealing with artificial humans. Kling explained in detail the whole story, and it was only then that the few people understood how serious the current crisis was. "So what should we do now?" Do we have to move Dad away as Uncle Kling thinks? Touching Wufan's raised little head, Clinton said for a moment. Well, while the artificial person hasn't been found yet, we must transfer Wukong away. The danger was also well known to everyone, and to ensure safety, Kling suggested that a few people take a plane for transfer, so as not to leak any air. At this point, a few uneasy individuals, arranged by Kling, hurriedly carried the sleeping Wukong into the plane. As for the agreement with Bic and Tranx, it's up to him. On the plane, Kling, who was in charge of the overall situation, issued another order to drive at full speed to Turtle Immortal Island to avoid the pursuit of artificial humans. Klein, who was piloting the plane with tense nerves, was suddenly startled by a phone call. Facing the unknown crowd, Kling looked at the caller ID and comforted, "It's okay, it's Bulma calling." Staring at Goku, who was unconscious on the ground, Kling, with a question mark on his face, answered the phone. "Hey, what's up with Bulma? Where are you now, my future son Tranx, with you?" Bulma asked impatiently. Although feeling confused inside, Bulma asked what Tranx was doing. Kling patiently explained the general process to Bulma. "Are artificial humans so powerful? Even you have failed." Bulma's surprised words came from the end of the phone. The once dominant emperor of the universe, Fraser, was all defeated by the sword of the Franks, and the only man-made person on Earth could have caused him a disastrous defeat. Now Bulma believed more in the mysterious event that had just occurred, which was related to artificial humans, so he quickly told Kling. "In that case, you guys come to my side first, and I'll notify Tranx and they'll also come over now." Kling was about to say no. "I have discovered a major issue, which is very likely related to artificial humans. You guys come over first before we talk," Bulma continued on the phone. "Okay." Upon hearing about the presence of artificial humans, Kling immediately changed his flight direction, changed course, and set off for the Bulma family in the west. On the other side, driving his beloved car on the highway on the 18th, his mood was extremely beautiful and he couldn't help but hum a song along with the radio. A beautiful scenery, constantly passing by in a gallop, with a gentle breeze brushing against my face. On the 17th, I leaned against the window and enjoyed a refreshing moment with my eyes closed. As long as we deal with Sharu again on the 16th, we can have peace of mind. Fortunately, with the 16th guide, we were able to accurately locate the busiest western capital on the mainland. Universal Capsule Company is also located in Xidu, and Bulma is still Sun Wukong's friend. Do you want to go and take a look? Number 16, who had been sitting quietly behind the car, made a cold noise. On the 17th, hearing the name Bulma, the daughter of Dr. Breve, the chairman of the Universal Capsule Company in the anime, came to mind as a genius scientist with extremely high IQ. Still the wife of Saiyan Vegeta and the mother of Tranx. The most important thing was on the 17th, which suddenly reminded me of the bomb installed by Dr. Grow inside my body. What impressed number 17 was that Bulma successfully developed a controller through drawings and repaired the injury on number 16. As for the final result in the anime, it is unknown on the 17th. Bulma, who is so powerful, will definitely meet on the 17th to see if he can deal with the bomb inside his body. If it doesn't work, you can borrow the Dragon Ball detector and seek help from the Divine Dragon. Having clarified his thoughts, he cut off the railway on the 17th and said, "We need to go. This Bulma can help us remove the bombs inside our bodies." "That's okay, I'll wait until I finish changing clothes," said the 18th driver without hesitation, indicating how deeply attached I am to my clothes. Faced with her own sister, the 17th can only avoid her sharpness and shrink to the front passenger seat. Sharu has never stood up, and with the current strength of the 17th, he dare not act alone, afraid of being attacked, and can only compromise. Driving around the bustling commercial street, various shops appear exceptionally colorful and dazzling under the neon lights. Soon they arrived at the largest shopping mall in the city center, and on the 18th, they pulled on the 17th to enter a luxurious clothing store. Even in ragged clothes, the 18th conquered sales solely based on their appearance. Under the guidance of the salesperson's smiling face, on the 18th, Xiao Yingying picked up a dazzling array of clothes. Under enthusiastic service, I bought dozens of sets of clothes on the 18th in one go. Along with the 17th, they were also arranged to wear a red scarf and replace it with a set of expensive casual clothes. Looking at his handsome self in the mirror, the 17th couldn't help but sigh. Indeed, people rely on clothes and horses rely on saddles. As for number 16, who is blocking the door, due to his height and mechanical design, it is not possible to purchase clothing for him. However, this was not difficult. On the 17th, he cleverly came up with a solution with a final slap on the forehead. So, one day when you have time, ask the 18th to apply a film all over his body and change the color. Listening to the detailed plan presented by the 17th, a scene of the 16th's body turning red and purple couldn't help but come to mind. The 18th couldn't help but cover his mouth and burst into laughter. In the end, the 18th wore a white shirt, a jacket, and a pearl necklace at the snow-white neck. On the 17th, carrying carefully selected clothes from the 18th, the big and small packaging boxes followed behind the fart, and the siblings were just about to go out. But was told to pay before leaving. Faced with this situation, 18th tilted his head and asked 17th with a puzzled expression. Do we still have to pay for things? It's best to give it. Number 17 tried hard to stick his head out of the pile of packaging boxes. Do you have money? Said the 18th, squinting his eyes. No, the 17th responded without hesitation. Listening to the young couple's conversation with a shocked expression on their face, they were already prepared to report to the police. But we can exchange the car for money and give it to the other person, said the 17th speaker, and then came up with a solution. So on the 17th, he smoothly walked out of the store with his clothes on. You sold the car, what should we do? Go ask a kind-hearted person to borrow another car, what's the big deal? Right, on the 16th. Looking at the brand new car, the 17th couldn't help but praise, there are still many good people in this world. Driving the car, the three of them began sweeping the food on the street. Happy times are always brief, and a pair of strangers break this rare joy. Newcomers seeking recommendations, collections, and monthly tickets. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will make the necessary changes in a timely manner. End of this chapter.